the president of Nigeria was giving uh, a New Year gift by these criminal elements, a Christmas gift by these criminal elements. And that tells me that most times we fail to plan. But these communities are vulnerable communities, and it has been happening for a very long time. People are being killed, not just in this present administration. During the time of the President Olusegun Obasanjo, there were massacre in Plateau State. Over 133 people were slaughtered, and they were given mass burial. We're talking about 133 generation here. These people carrying out this act, I don't think they're human beings, because this act is an act of animal behavior, killing Nigerian people every day at will. And let me be honest with you, we are getting used to this negative news. In the early days when we hear something like this, we'll start crying, oh, weeping, mourning. But we are already getting used to the killings of our Nigerian people, and which is not a good thing for us to get used to it, because the government force are used to it. And it's so sad that if you even look at the international, the global terrorism index, Nigeria is doing so well negatively there. If you look at the global peace index, we are negatively there, doing well negatively. If you look at the global index of the global crime index, we are still there. Most times people refer our country, once a beautiful country, giant of Africa, as a crime scene. So that is very wrong. That is very disappointing and disturbing. But we must look beyond condemning the situations, because each time incident like this transpired, we have our government coming out to condemn. Condemnation is not the way out this time around. We need to bring people back to justice.
So that will lead us to for us to understand the security situation, how it has moved from a secured nation to an insecure nation at the moment. Let's delve into some of the social and economic, maybe political issues that has triggered some of these, the unending killings we find occurring in the country today. Can we just dig into it? Because you alluded to back as 1999.
Yes, when I said 1999, that was not when the state of insecurity started. I didn't grow up to meet a secure nation. I grew up to meet an unsecured nation. When I was in my primary school, then in the north, I was born in Maiduguri. I grew up in Sokoto State. I was in Zaria before I joined the military in 1998. What I saw then was very disturbing and really, really devastating. As a young boy, 6, 7 years old, we have to start running away, taking shelter, hiding from gunshots by the then Metasine, disturbing the General Babangida government then, and also Boma. So those period of time, a lot of children were carted away. Some of them, life were cut short. I lost a lot of friends. Whenever there is a sound or a bell, we will start jumping through the window. So growing up, becoming an adult, becoming a soldier, and also now a security analyst, I'm still experiencing this. This tells you that Nigeria has never been a secure state, except in the early 80s or in the early 90s, in the early 80s, the 18th century or early 19th century. I will agree to that fact. But if you want me to tell you what went wrong, I think what went wrong is that we are failed to take hold and give account of our territorial space. The territorial space of Nigeria must be accounted for, and everyone has hands in this accountability. We think the military and police are sufficient to carry out this act of crime prevention. Yes, I agree. They have a major role to play. That's why they're being paid. But what is happening presently in Nigeria, I must tell you, is societal threats. You can experience personal threats, business threats, environmental threats. But what's presently happening in Nigeria is a societal threat. Everybody's at risk. I can bet you, if you're driving to your state, for example, maybe you're in the southeast or northwest, whatever the case may be, and you're going by road, you will be panting until you get to your destination. That's how bad our runways, our motorways have been right now. So disturbing that people cannot even travel during festive period. Those days, even though the state of insecurity is not that as right as now, we always believe that the only time we get to be scared is Christmas period, because that is when devil will arrive to the country and start, causing accidents. Those kind of belief. But right now, any day, anytime, even at your home, which is supposed to be your comfort zone, which is supposed to be your safe haven, people are being killed in their homes, being captured in their homes. So this is a disturbing situation. On the plateau issue, uh, these criminal guys that are carrying these activities, I don't think they have an ideology. Uh, that is why they're carrying out these ill activities in the north in Plateau State. And I was watching a video some few days back, and I saw a locality that is just not the terrain of some tribal people. And I discovered that the whole of that community has been invaded by a certain tribe. And I told my wife, I said, in the past 50 years ago, 60 years ago, I am so sure these people came and killed everybody in this community. So what's happening in Plateau State is land grabbing. Land grabbing. They kill and occupy. I was privileged to be in Plateau, stay in Plateau for some time. Most of these guys, what they do, they go to this government space. So if they go to these villages, they kill these people and they occupy the terrain. So that's what's happening. So the issue now is that our government are not following up on these guys after the commission of crime. What do? You need to condone of the environment. I can bet you in the next 6 months, go to that community, my brother, to go and carry out an investigative journalism, you will discover that that community has been habitated by these guys that kill the owners of the land. It's so disturbing.
All right, let's let you know how you can be a part of the conversation. If you have a question or you have a comment, this is the time to give us a ring or send us a message. We're speaking with Dickson Osajia. He's a security expert. 014489981. That's the number to call. The WhatsApp number is 0809 4440981. We're streaming live on YouTube as well. So you can catch that live stream on our channel, and you can also tweet at Smooth981. The hashtag is Lagos Talks 981.
So insecurity in different parts of the country is being referred or addressed with different names, but it all points to a state that or the region that is not secure. First, we started with bandits, and then reluctantly, now they'll be branded, gazetted as terrorists. In the southern part of the country, you would have people also, the same region, having cause to also destabilize that region, and they go as agitators and what have you. So I just really would like you to help us understand the acceptance of a terminology to address these people, if really that's the first point to start. Or with your experience, is Nigeria currently being invaded by some other countries and we're yet to accept this?
Fantastic question. You see, one of the major problems we have as a country is crisis management skills. And that's the major problem with the Nigerian government, crisis management skills. And they think when they apply military force, they'll be able to dissipate and mitigate whatever threat is bedeviling the territorial space of Nigeria. Take, for example, the Southeast, like you rightly said, each zone or each locality with a different crime name design. The Southeast, for example, if you ask me who is to be blamed of what's happening presently in the country, in the Southeast, I will blame the Nigerian government for what is happening in the Southeast presently. You know, when we talk about terrorism, there is no universal acceptable terminology. There's no universal acceptable definition of terrorism. Presently, as I speak to you, there are over 93 meaning of terrorism from different zones, because the man you call terrorist will term himself as freedom fighters, revolution or whatever. Most of these people, they cannot accept your own definition as terrorists, but government are quick to, call them terrorists. The Nigerian government is making a lot of mistakes, and I've advised that they need to start employing crisis management professionals to, sit by our governors, sit by our ministers, and also sit in the presidency to advise them in the case of crisis management. Now, looking at the Southeast was not like this. I was privileged to serve in 82 Division. Was under my division, Enugu. One of the major challenges we have then during Governor Umbadinju was the Bakassi boys that were becoming a threat to the Nigerian state and the Anambra state. And we discovered that they were crossing the line, and we have to take them out. So what then happened presently now in this era is that in respect of the Biafran movement was that these guys, they started with protest, peaceful protest. You see, most times when our people go on peaceful protests, you tend to use the police to disperse them. When we talk about crowd management, the use of force is always the last resort. Don't think you can apply the use of force as the first resort. You need to exhaust all possibly means in managing crisis or whatever the case may be. But these guys never started in a crisis form. They were only attacked because of their protest, and before you know anything, the shooting began. And before you know it, they proscribed these guys as terrorist group. Now, what the Nigerian government did then during the proscription of IPOB was that they elevated our ranking in the International Terrorism Bank. You understand? Because then we were in what position? So they now proscribed their own people, and the world were informed that XYZ people were proscribed. Don't think when you proscribe people is going to demoralize them. I think that was the advice I believe the government of President Buhari got, thinking if they proscribe IPOP, they will be able to decimate them. But what they fail to understand is that proscribing any terrorist group within your country, you must be sure and certify them as terrorist group. You understand? Before you can proscribe these people. So let's leave the proscription aside. Apart from that, looking at what happened in some other parts of the country, Maiduguri, for example, during the time of Bakassi, the Boko Haram, they said Western education is sin. They started with preaching, and all of a sudden, their leader Mohammed Yusuf was eliminated by the Nigerian state. That was how Boko Haram started. The use of force has put Nigeria in a state of mess. The use of force, put Nigeria in a state of mess in the area of Boko Haram. The use of force put Nigeria in a state of mess in the area of what's his name, Southeast group. And Southeast now, once beautiful state, lovely people, kind people, killings everywhere. But I also believe, from my own personal observation, this is me telling you from the depth of my heart, that when I watched some of the videos 2 years ago, what is happening in the Southeast, the killing methodology, beheading of people, I look at this methodology, I say this methodology is like Boko Haram methodology. How we, an Igbo man or someone who is fighting for the emancipation of the Biafran people start doing beheading and some kind of terrorist approach. So I strongly believe then there was fifth columnist in the Southeast. That is my own personal observation, except proven otherwise. So for me, what we also need to be looking at also, you talked about bandits, you talk about terrorism. They are all terrorists. Terrorism is the use of force, against a civilian populace or a person or the military. That is the whole essence of terrorism. That's why sometimes you tell somebody, stop terrorizing me. When anyone carry out an act of terror, such person is a terrorist. You understand? So what the government needs to come back now to do is to go back to the drawing board, call most of these people involved, especially the Southeast here, because they never started, they didn't attack the government. They never started their movement with force. So, but the area of bandits, when Boko Haram started, it was an ideological driven mentality. But the area of banditry is now commercialized. It's a commercialized ideology. They pick a Nigerian person, take them to Jehovah's space, and what do? They ask for money. It's disturbing.
Okay, Dickson, we'll come back to this shortly. You're listening to Lagos Talks on Smooth 98.1. We're speaking with Dickson Osajia. He's a security expert. And we're talking about Nigeria's challenge of insecurity. What can be done in 2024? Stay with us.
Hi people, my name is Grace, and if you want good music, stay tuned to Smooth 98.1.
So what we are looking at, like he has mentioned the Southeast, but it also looks like
okay, I can hear you.
So Mr. Dickson. Hello, Mr. Dickson.
Okay, I'm here.
Okay, so I followed your train of thought very well. You talked about the failure of the state in their approach in the South.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
But I can hear you.
Okay, I can hear you now.
And so I was going to look at it from the point of view now. Okay, so when we're going to come now, so I'll let you speak to that now. Smooth 98.1 FM. It's still Lagos Talks 981 this morning, tackling increasing national security challenges in 2021. If there's one thing that mustn't cross over to the new year, it's the security challenges. And this morning, our guest, Dickson Osajia, is speaking to us. Dickson, you've been able to identify some of the the strategy of the government in answering the question to the different challenges in the different regions of the country, the Northeast, and then you also talked about the Southeast in terms of agitation for Biafra. But also you left out the South, where there was an agitation for resource control. And that region, for a while now, since the amnesty from the late President Yar'Adua, has become so quiet. And so far, you would say that is a strategy in itself that the government has employed that seemed to have worked. What would you say if they reach out using that same strategy to the rest regions?
Okay, I can watch you guys live from the studio. The reason why I didn't talk about the South, I could see from the body language of your beautiful lady, Zibby. She wants to go on break. I want to say something, so that's why I cut off and allow her to see what she wants to say. South also experienced its own attack. Look at the Owo killings, when most of these guys went to the sacred place, the place of worship, behead people, kill children, kill mothers, and that made the governor, to feel so sad and put in some strategies to take out most of these guys. Then also you talked about what's it called, amnesty. You see, sometimes bargaining with the devil is a sign of weakness. We are very good at bargaining with the devil. I am an advocate for crime and punishment, and there's what we talk. I'm an advocate for crime and punishment, and for you to grant people amnesty, you need to check the causative factors. What led to the insurrection against the Nigerian state? The Niger Delta amnesty was justified, to my own observation, because they claim that they are oil-rich states. And most of the people that comes to tap their oil just tap it, go, leave the environment messed up, and you can see it as a plain view doctrine. And that is verifiable, truly, because when you go to most of these Niger Delta, as at then, it was so terrible and not worthy to inhabit. So I justified that what's it called, amnesty given to them, even though what they did was wrong, because picking of arms against your father, your mother, or the Nigerian state is not the way out. Then the shocking one came on Boko Haram, because the Nigerian government, I think, believed that, well, we once granted amnesty to Niger Delta, let's grant amnesty to Boko Haram, those who killed your father, your brothers, my sisters in the battlefield, those who killed our soldiers who are meant to protect us. They were granted amnesty without looking at the causative factors, what led to the war, what led to the insurrection. And you grant these guys amnesty. And something that came to my mind was that, what will the father, the children of these late heroes say? What will their wives that are still alive be saying? That my husband put his life on the line to protect the Nigerian state, and those who ended up killing our parents, our sisters in the battlefield are being granted amnesty. And I think it's going to have a kind of psychological effect on this Nigerian, so our military families. Yes, the military carried out this amnesty, granted it amnesty, and they tagged it repentant militants. And I want to ask what parameters did the government use in ascertaining if they are truly repented? Most times in the battlefield, surrendering can come from different formation. Surrendering, you can surrender to the enemy if the enemy has a high firepower than you and high capacity to decimate you, and you know that you are going to cross the line or be taken out if you don't surrender. You can also surrender by deception, because everything about the battlefield is deception. The battlefield is all about deception, because if you don't have a deceptive approach in the battlefield, you will not be able to defeat your enemy. So most of these guys, during the bombardment of the Nigerian military, some of them were coming out claiming they have repented, and the government was so quick to take them and grant them amnesty. And I was watching one of the videos where they were in their classes. They were just taking some beautiful meal, bread and butter, and I say, our soldiers never ate bread and butter in the battlefield. I am gonna prove that to you. They never ate so well in the battlefield. I even remember in 1999 when I was in the Bakassi Peninsula during the Nigerian Cameroon conflicts. I know what we eat. We eat like prisoners. So that is where also our government needs to also start looking at taking care of our military. Those who put their life on the line for you and I to sleep well, wake up this morning and start speaking. You guys are in the studio today. Our military are our second angels in this planet Earth. I must tell you the truth, because if this guy stays awake, both the police and other security agents who stays awake to ensure you and I sleep peacefully. So that program by the government for Boko Haram, I think is very, very sad. After that program commenced, you now see that a lot of them start moving to banditry. So banditry is the commercialized aspect of terrorism. They pick you up and they ask you for money. Look at the train station kidnap in your own country. You find a government facility and you were kidnapped in our train stations. Hundreds of them were kidnapped, beaten, raped. Where is Ilia Shaibu today? She has been kidnapped. Nothing has been done till date in the Nigerian territorial space. So I think we don't have the political way to resolve our problems.
Okay, Dickson. So from what you've stated, you did state, the amnesty program from the Niger Delta was not the best approach for the Boko Haram terrorists in the Northeast. So I'm curious. So there isn't a one-size-fits-all solution when it comes to insecurity, when it comes to ending insecurity.
Yes, there is not a one-size-fits-all. Like I rightly said during my analysis, these guys said their land has been infiltrated. They try to speak to the government. They try to approach the government that, hey, you need to clean up this land. You need to do this thing for us. You need to do that for us. Before you know anything, they started emancipating for their own nation because they feel that they are very rich and you are taking our wealth. You are not taking care of my property. Take, for example, I come to your house now. I fetch your rice and beans and I, spoil it everywhere. I come the next day, fetch your steel, destroy everywhere. You will not feel happy about that because you are doing me good and I'm paying you back with evil. So that was the perception around the Niger Delta issue. That was what led to the insurrection.
Dickson, you're muted. So what would be the solutions to tackle each of these groups of people who are unleashing terror, whether they are bandits, they're terrorists, they're militants, or even the separatists?
Yes, before I answer your solution, okay, go ahead.
Focusing more now, because in the opening you talked about the planting, and the planting is really becoming very bloody. And then just after that, there was an incident in Kaduna. So why is it seeming intractable to get this ceasefire in the Northwest and then also in the Northeast?
This is not a ceasefire issue. I think a call came in. I was trying to and obstructed my communication while I was talking about the last question Zizi asked me. The Northwest, the Boko Haram, what led to their movement was that they said Western education is a sin, and the Kalashnikov was manufactured by the West. So you are using the equipment of the West, attacking the West, saying that Western education is sin, which is Boko Haram. So that was their own ideology, and that was what led to their insurrection. And that is not sufficient for you to start giving them amnesty when you know so well they destroyed the Nigerian military, they put us in the international negative light, and they've committed one of the most dangerous havoc in the world, the kidnap of Chibok girls, which took Nigeria to a negative limelight. Okay, now coming back to the gentleman's question on the killing in Plateau, the killing in other states, and what the military or the government is not doing. You see, crime will live with us till eternity. But when we talk about terrorism did not start today. It started right in the 17th century. Are you with me? During the Zionist, what's it called? I think that's keep my mind. It started in the 11th century. During the Sunni and the Sunni and their opponents then. Then, coming back to the recent trend of terrorism, it was linked to the French Revolution during the reign of terror. And that's why some time ago I was saying, some Nigerians were saying, revolution now, revolution now. Do you know what is revolution? The French Revolution was termed the reign of terror. That was when most people were beheaded in the world. Over 70,000 people were beheaded in France, and the world took a different dimension in the area of security. So coming back to Nigeria now, terrorism can never be eliminated. But what we should be looking at is to reduce it to as low as reasonably acceptable. Thousands of years ago, Cain killed his brother Abel. So I'm not coming to tell you that the military should eliminate this threat. No, it can never be eliminated. We will live with crime till eternity. But the bone of contention here is that we have to reduce it so that we don't experience societal risk and societal threats. So now, for me, I think the government needs to, be holistic in their approach. We need to start looking at a political approach. We need to look at educational approach. We need to look at societal approach. We need to look at military approach. then we'll start looking at, eliminating most of these guys from our territorial space. Because what these guys believe is that the Nigerian government is not capable to take them out. And when crime flourishes if there are no punishment measures, crime flourishes if there are no military and policing detection, deterrence, and prevention methodology. So what we should be looking at as a military right now is that we should start looking at, decentralizing our policing system. This centralized policing system is not working for Nigeria at all. Somebody in Abuja controlling 36 states, sitting on a 926,000 square kilometers with over 240 million people, is not going to do well. We need to decentralize our policing system and start looking at community policing. Are you with me? We also start looking at situational crime prevention, because what we have at hand now, we have a situation at hand. How do we assist? Community police will be very good for us to deal with, so that you don't need to call for Nigerian police in Abuja. Give other state governor will say, okay, let me call Abuja. Abuja will say, okay, let me hear from the president. We need to take off those centralized policing system and start looking at decentralizing our policing system, so that they'll be able to respond to crime as quick as possible, so that we don't lose our people. Because the whole essence of crime prevention is for you to go before the loss. So each time crime is occasion or crime has been acted on, the security has been defeated. So the approach we're looking at now is going to be a multidimensional approach. Then political approach as well. We need to start religious approach as well, because in this era of terrorism, we are suffering from religious terrorism. This very era we are, because there are 4 eras. We have the 1880 to 1920 era, which is the era of anarchists. We have the era of left wings. We have the era of religious era, which is from 1980 to date. We are suffering from religious era of terrorism. What are the Christians? What are your pastors telling you in church about the Muslim brothers? What are the clerics, Muslim clerics, telling their people about the Christians? We are quick to condemn ourselves in our place of worship and come out to pretend in the society. So there's a major problem. Religion has destroyed us. Religion has destroyed this country. If you check now, go and find.
You're listening to Lagos Talks on Smooth 98.1. Our guest is Dickson Osajia. We'll continue the conversation on the other side. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know if you have any questions and opinions as well. The conversation continues shortly. Stay with us.
Mr. Dickson.
Sir?
Okay, we'll be back shortly. We just had to go on this quick one.
Just about 50 seconds.
Then calls, I think some calls are already getting ready to come through too, so just get ready.
Oh, there we're stretching.
Why? You got yawn because you're human now. It's normal.
Oh wow.
That's all part of the street.
Belongs to you. Okay, we're back on in 15.
It is still Lagos Talks 981, and we still got our guest Dickson Osajia here, still helping us get to understand security challenges in the country. But the major focus is how we can tackle it and make 2024 safer for Nigerians. And it's already delved into solutions already, how we can get into that. It was speaking about community policing, but we've got a caller waiting already. So let's get the call in and then pick up your train of thought shortly. Hello, good morning.
Please go ahead.
When we're talking of security, I'm very happy our guest in the house, that's a former military personnel. And certainly, he must have had some little tips and knows the intrigue that goes on within the military. And certainly in life, we have a logbook that we have a chronicle of them. We knew what happened with the IRA, Irish Revolutionary Army. We know what happened with the Basque Deputy of Spain, Irish in Britain, then the Omatseye in Italy or so, and some other ones. How these people went about and got rid of it. There are things we can learn from them, then apply our own terrain. Definitely, there's a point of entry of this issue, like the Boko Haram, like the kidnapping, and so on and so forth. There are areas these people are concentrated in. How they came about, like in Jos, like in Plateau, how all these things started. We can easily look at it. Our guest there already said one important aspect, and that is punishment must be melted to them if they are caught. There's nothing like amnesty. Yes, there are times that you will have to compromise in order to let this reign. What is the analyst? Our guest in there, Zibby asked that question. That question has not been answered. What is our solution? So far is solution. What can you advise the government to do concerning all these issues? Because there's a root cause. Most of these people are foreign to our country. Our borders need to be tightened and profile the people coming into this nation. We can see the root cause of all this. Even Spain, it was quenched. What is happening? Our borders need to be profiled and let our get here even a proper, a sort of its own solution to this problem. That is what I think. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your call. Dickson?
I'm here.
Okay. Did you hear our caller, Soji?
Oh, yes, I heard him.
Okay. So do you want to respond to what he asked?
Yes, I would like to respond. You see, he talks about solution, which is actually the truth, because each time we come on air, what we need to be looking at is solution-based, not repeating the issues or the incidents or the complaints. But sometimes you need to lay a foundation, just like when you go to hospital, you first of all carry out an examination of your body, then the profile solutions, and that is what your stations, Smooth FM stands for. So I rightly said that we are suffering from multi-dimensional security threats, and the solution is going to be multi-dimensional. And for us to have an effective, safer state, we need to start looking at multi-dimensional approach. I talked about, maybe you didn't listen when I talk about military approach, political approach, religious approach as well, and also we start looking at the societal approach. Nigeria is suffering from a societal risk, like I rightly said, and we're also looking at the crime situation in Nigeria. First of all, we need to understand what crime is all about, because for crime to occur, there must be 3 items present. There must be a willing offender, there must be a suitable target, and absence of a potential guardian. The whole essence of crime prevention is to cut off the opportunity. So how do we now cut off this criminal opportunity from the Nigerian territorial space? It's very, very simple. And security is achievable, I must tell you the truth. He talked about our border. Nigerian border remains one of the most porous borders in the world. We have over 1,413 irregular routes that are unmanned. And most of these criminal elements, takes this border route. First of all, for us to have an effective solution, we need to protect our national borders. We need to ensure that our borders are manned, surveillance manned by technological equipment, and manned by operatives. Because, for example, now, if you want to, kill the mosquito in your room, you need to close the windows. You can't spray insecticide while your windows are open. Why? Because they might escape and come back. So you shut the windows and shut the door. You spray the insecticide because the mosquitoes are threat to your livelihood. They are threat to your body. So that's why you shut off the window. So in this essence, our national border needs to be shut. Most of this government space, on monitor space, needs to also be shut. Then I will tell you, why do people go to crime, Zibby? Because that's one of the major factors we need to understand. Why do people go to crime, and why is the crime rate high in Nigeria? We have not talked about joblessness. unemployment is one of the major factors. If you go to the Northeast, as I'm speaking to you now, if you go to the North now, you'll see most of these Nigerian children. Just like, let me take Lagos, for example, now. If you are coming from Chevron, where I live, and you are going to Victoria Island, you see a lot of children on the streets. Some of them migrated, begging for money, begging for food. What happened? These guys have been neglected by the Nigerian people. Any person on the street, any child on the street, wandering on the street, is a potential threat to the government. So we need to start looking at taking out most of these vulnerable Nigerians on the street, because if you are vulnerable on the street, that is how Boko Haram gained a lot of fighters. Their employment methodology was to go after the unemployed Nigerian youth and offer them employment and say, hey, Nigerian state will not cater for you. You will remain here and you're hungry till you die. And that's how they enlisted most of the Nigerian youth, because they were unemployed. If you are not doing anything, or you just at home jobless, once this criminal opportunity comes, you are going to venture into it. And that's why we need to start looking at unemployment. Then looking at kidnapping. Kidnapping is on the high rise now. It started during the time of Evans. And the media did not manage that part, because the media also have a role to play in the area of terrorism management. In that time, Evans was arrested. You know, they were addressing him as Evans, the billionaire kidnapper. Billionaire kidnapper. Evans has been charged to court this morning. We'll tune in back and give you updates. You know, all these radio stations, TV stations, we are addressing Evans as a billionaire kidnapper. And they forgot that we have a lot of jobless people in the Nigerian space. So Nigeria, you start looking at it and say, somebody made billions just by catching somebody. That means this is a very good criminal enterprise. That's how people started, venturing into kidnapping. So, if you want to take a call.
Yes, but that call seems to have stopped. I'm just going to give out the number again. It's 0144899981. That's the number. You can also tweet at smooth981. Let's go back to the phone lines. Good morning.
Dr. Moses, for real, I will always make the media culpable. How? I remember starting, I know Zibby will know what I'm talking about, Kadir Ahmed, because she won't work with that. When she had to launch this BBC, and I agree with that, because we spoke on that for a while, that sometimes the media gives life to the terrorists. They want publicity by all means. That's why the same BBC she lambasted, because they came to do some documentary in the Northwest, giving them leverage, giving them as a kind of respect, some adulation. At the end of the life, they destroyed. This same BBC never gave the Irish, the IRA, in the 80s and 90s, never gave them any for publicity. At best, only hear their voices, but you never see their faces. But the same BBC will go to other parts of the world and know terrorism out of place. So really, the media has a role. Let me just go with what because he almost took from my mouth. The analyst there, Sagi, how that sometimes we over-celebrate. I remember how irritating and irritating it was when Evans, the kidnapper, was being celebrated, giving sobriquet, Evans the billionaire, Evans the this. It doesn't make any sense. So the media must play the role of being, and to play their role down.
Okay, you can give us a ring back. I think we lost that call. Yes, we're still speaking with Dickson Osajia. Dickson is a security analyst. He's been part of our army. We're talking about the challenge of insecurity in Nigeria and what we can do to address this moving forward. Now, earlier in the first quarter of the program, you spoke about the psychological effect of the families who have lost their loved ones to these attacks, particularly the terrorism attacks. And I'm curious, with Nigerians waking up every other week to hear news of wanton acts of violence, large numbers of people losing their lives, what does it do to the psychology of the average Nigerian? Dickson? All right, well, we might have some connectivity issues, but I believe Dickson is going to try to get back on this conversation. But the phone lines are still open. You can send your thoughts in via WhatsApp as well, 0809 440 981. And you can, of course, give us a ring, 0144899981. And you can also tweet at smooth981. Now, years ago, when people would hear of a terror attack, there was a lot of shock, a lot of fear. There was a lot of outrage, but it almost seems like people have sort of become desensitized to it because it's kind of become an almost daily experience, almost a regular way of life in Nigeria. What does that do to people?
Listening to Dr. Moses a while ago, and which is also bouncing off of the back of what our guest was talking about, how they're bringing it back to the terrain of the media to say this is because this is where our space. So we must address that too quickly as possible. Hello, good morning.
Okay.
Down whatever. I know that there's always going to be a very fine line between reporters and notification. You've got to do your job. We can't do your job. You've got to report things the way they are. But sometimes when you now give them superlatives unnecessarily, because it's like a psychological blow on their victims. You know, I went to the BBC documentary when it came to the Northeast, the Northwest, and the environment of things. It was purely an insult on the victims. They were actually celebrating what the terrorists were doing, giving them airtime, even getting to know their names and saying no man of things, which they never did with their own when they had the IRA, the Irish return. So the media to understand clearly the role of reporters, which you must probably do, tell us how it is that we know how to tackle it. But also they must not step over some lines whereby they will be celebrating this evil one. They don't deserve because their currency, their power actually is what they are being spoken about, and the game won everything. Good morning, guys.
All right, thank you. Ethical reporting. All right, let's go on to the phone lines. We have another phone call coming through. Good morning. All right, name and location, please.
Good morning.
All right, Ajay. Good morning. Go ahead, please.
The reason why this insecurity continues to fester is very simple. The reason is very, and I don't know why government is not looking at it in the correct way. There is a security vacuum in the communities. The communities are where the people live. That's where the people reside. That's where the people, have their daily activities. It is in the communities, and there is no security in this community. Once anybody comes, I've always been saying it's very easy to commit crime in Nigeria because we do it. Nobody will even challenge. If somebody tries to tell you, they'll tell you what's the opposite. You police. So there's no security in the communities. That's why people, bandits, terrorists just roam about in the community with the people just being helpless. Until the communities. In other countries, there are people we call first responders in the communities. They are first responders. Before you mobilize army or even the mobile policemen to arrive at the place, there must be some people that will immediately take charge in case of any. That's just the problem. I hope the government will reason to, quickly reason to it and do and act accordingly. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much, Ajayi, for calling. You're listening to Lagos Talks on Smooth 98.1. We have a few minutes to wrap up the conversation. We're talking about insecurity and solving this massive challenge for 2024. Stay with us. Dickson, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. I think I was taken out and I'm back.
Oh, okay. All right, that's fine. We'll be back on in a few seconds and then we can wrap up.
How many minutes am I wrapping up?
5 minutes, man.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Just have 5 more minutes to go.
More vegetables and the
Less than that, even 4.
Yeah, less.
4 minutes or so, 3 minutes.
Okay, we're going on now.
Morning.
It's Lagos Talks on Smooth 98.1. It's Omas and Zibby here. We have our guest with us, Dickson Osajia. Dickson Osajia is a security analyst and he's been a part of the armed forces as well. We're talking about the challenge of insecurity in Nigeria and what can be done really in 2024? Dickson?
Yes. Question for me?
Yes.
Okay.
We've spoken about, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, if you ask me what can be done in 2024, I think we need to start looking at social protection. Social protection, a set of policies and programs that are designed to reduce poverty, vulnerability, and also promoting efficient labor markets, so that it will diminish people's exposure to risk and enhances their capacity to protect themselves against most of these criminal elements and threats and hazards so that they don't interrupt their daily activities. Then I think we'll also start looking at restorative justice as well in 2024. Victims of crime, what happens to victims of crime? Like I earlier said, I believe in crime and punishment. People who commit crime must be meant to pay. Our criminal justice system needs to also wake up. The police, the court, the prison consist of the criminal justice system. Those who are taken to court, Zizzy, some of them come out more hardened of a criminal. Our prison services needs to also, the government needs to also declare a state of emergency in our prison facility, because why is it that those that goes to prison that are meant to be reformed and come back more hardened of a criminal? Apostle Justin Suleiman's convert that was attacked, those two guys in their confessional video claimed they were once in the prison and they were released. One of them was released and they came back and organized a 10-man gang, and they are trying to assassinate that man. So we need to start looking at our prison facilities. So I was talking about social protection and also restorative justice. Restorative justice deals with taking care of victims of crime. Do you leave them condemned? Do you leave them destroyed? Victims of crime, like most of these girls, Boko Haram ladies that were captured. I was happy how the international world treated them. Some of them were flown abroad. They were restored. Restore them of their emotions, emotional well-being, physiological well-being, financial well-being, psychological well-being. But yeah, if you don't restore people, victims of crime, give them restorative justice, some of them would tend to offend the Nigerian state. And that is why most times victims of crime try to revenge. Say, I'm the one, you guys do this too. They will make the Nigerian state ungovernable. So when we look at restorative justice, victims of crime, it will also assist in the area of crime prevention. Then we should be looking at unemployment, like I rightly said. We should also look at effectiveness of our policing system. The Nigerian police has been commercialized, in the sense that most of them are protecting the elites. If you have a lot of police officers being paid with the taxpayers' money, protecting the elite, then there's deficiency in the area of policing. The IGP needs to address that area of policing to ensure that the police come back to the drawing board and ensure that they carry out their sole duty, protecting Nigeria from internal aggression. Then the military should take charge of the external aggression part and ensure they go after this criminal element. And the government must also increase the manpower of our military. Nigeria is over 200 million. What is the strength capacity? The Nigerian police is now over 380,000. The Nigerian Army, Navy, and Air Force are now up to 1.5 million, governing a country of over 2.5 million with a large scale of landmarks. So we need to improve their capacity, also improve their training. And we also need to look at force protection against Zizzy, because our soldiers these days, they are trained so hard and they are dying cheap. How will you train so hard as an officer and you die cheap by those criminal elements that are not even trained? So we should be looking at force protection. That is to say, protecting those that are protecting us. Never again should our soldiers be allowed to train so hard and die cheaply in the hands of this criminal element. When I was trained as a soldier, there's a terminology we usually use then: train hard and die hard. You don't train hard and die cheap. You train hard and die hard. You understand? So also we need to start looking at a tactical approach. The military needs to change their tactics, because these, as I'm talking to you, some soldiers are in the battlefield for 4 years. My younger brother was in Boko Haram for 4 years. He was shot in Chibok during the arrest of those both Chibok girls. Thank God he didn't die in that gunshot. He spent 4 years and 3 months in the front line. That is a tactical error. That is an operational error. Someone who gain admission in University of Lagos will be a graduate, and somebody is still fighting the battlefield for a crime he never, committed, for criminal activities he never established. So we start looking at the military welfare as well, policing welfare. A lot of things needs to be done. Because of time, I think I might be able. I want to stop here, but we must remember that we have a country to protect. Nigeria is our home. There's no other country we have. We must take out the enemy of Nigeria. If we don't do that, we'll be treading on a time bomb.
Well, thank you so much, Dickson. Always a very enlightening time when you come through, and we hope that the next time we have this conversation, we can see some improvements in the security situation in Nigeria.
And just before we let him go, because he seemed to be a stakeholder in the Nigerian security sector, the Armed Forces Remembrance Day is just around the corner, just a spitting distance away. That will be January 15th. So it looks like we're setting the background for another great conversation somewhere.
Indeed.
Fantastic.
Thank
You are
you.
very correct.
So you can find Dickson. He is a global security consultant, a security expert, and also a former member of the armed forces. You can find him on his social media. I am OO Dickson. I got that correctly, didn't I?
You are very correct. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dickson, for coming through, and
Thank you,
for your
Zibby.
service.
Thank you. Zibby, 2024 look good on you.
Amen. Thank you. That's it for Lagos Talks this morning. Thanks for being with us. Abbas and I are still here with you. One